Hello, my name is Justin Urquhart-Stewart and I'm from Regionally. And welcome to our short talk we're going to have today with Matt Hawkins from Cudo. Matt, welcome.
Yeah, hi, thank you.
So Matt, you're the Chief Executive of Cudo. So tell us about the business.
Sure, so we're a business that was designed to make use of the world's spare computing capacity.
That's spare computing, like my PC?
Yes, your PC, your mobile phone, any type of computer, your games console. This is for consumers, and then also data centers, backbone providers, what uses the internet and powers the internet. About 30 to 50% of that is spare at any point in time.
How do you get access to this?
So we've built software which can kind of make those resources available. So if you take the top 24 service providers in the world, they spend 75 billion a year building brand new data centers and cloud platforms, just trying to keep up with the demand of everyone moving to the cloud.
Right.
So we're saying stop wasting all that money, using up all that CO2 that's just building new servers and data centers. Let's use what everybody's got out there, sat there, half the time doing nothing, and get the money back to the people because they've already spent the money on that hardware. And find a much greener solution and use what's already out there.
So it's like you're using car parking spaces or something like that. You're just using this available space for other things. Yeah.
Your best typical analogy is kind of Airbnb. Before that, you had loads of spare space in rooms, and they've managed to move a lot of what used to be in hotels into that space. So we're doing the same for cloud.
So who uses it then? Who are your customers?
So it's typically AI companies, machine learning. Video rendering for things like 3D special effects for films.
Right.
Streaming, so big streaming companies that, your equivalents of YouTube and Netflix. Anything that uses up lots of internet capacity is the perfect customer, and the types of platforms.
And that's adjustable as necessary. They'll come and use it as and when, or is it these are long-term contracts with you?
Yeah, so what, in the past, if you're a big company, you can only go to the big providers.
Right.
Because they're the only ones with enough capacity to cope with you. But we've been building a system which means you can scale out to all the middle providers and everyone's home machines and use that capacity as well. So now, instead of having to go to the big providers, you can use everybody else's infrastructure.
So how do you get hold of then the individuals with their PCs and their laptops and things like that? Do you go and find them?
So we've made a version of the software available online.
Right.
So anyone can download it, but until date, we've been really busy building rather than promoting.
Right.
So it's taken us, nearly 3 years to get to this point and build the technology. So we've just let people sign up, but there's about 150,000 users, but we're not really told anyone about it yet.
Right.
But we're now partnering with some big companies like AMD and big games companies that we power their software, which means any of their users can monetize their games machines, PCs.
So they will actually, so an individual owner of a PC or something like that will get an income stream coming out of this then?
Yes, yeah. So a games machine, a new games machine right now is earning kind of 50, 60 pounds a month. Actually, the brand new graphics cards that have just come out, they're earning about 100 pounds a month.
Good heavens. And
then we've got some more big kind of service providers coming on, which means those machines are going to earn kind of 200 to 300 pounds a month, which is pretty good for, you've already spent all your money on that machine, why not make it earn back for you?
It's a very nice little side income to have. Does that mean everybody's old kit can suddenly be brought out again and start powering it up?
I would say it's kind of, you probably want something within the last 3 years or so, ideally.
That's me written off then.
Yeah.
So who else is in this industry then?
So there's no one that's successfully done this yet.
That's good.
Technically, and market readiness, you couldn't really do this before 2016 because...
What happened?
Well, so internet capacity, so broadband connections, things like that weren't really good enough because it's data that you've got to get down to the device. Consumer and enterprise hardware was quite different if you go back 5 years ago or 10 years ago, whereas they're virtually the same now. And people weren't really used to the idea of the sharing economy.
No.
So we did I've actually put together a plan in 2011 to do this, but the market wasn't ready in technology. And there's a type of technology called containers, but it's what we need to move computing around.
Right.
Wasn't mature until...
Keep it as simple as that, I'll understand it. So yes, it's technology Airbnb, I get that sort of thing. And is this a domestic issue, or is it opportunities overseas as well?
So it's in 145 countries at
Already?
the moment. Yeah. There's no limit. It can run anywhere. Anywhere there's a device.
Right.
So that's.
So then, where do you
beauty of
want
it,
to grow the business then? You're going to grow this globally then, are you?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So we've sort of been in the build phase.
So when did you start?
2017, November.
Right.
2017.
And so you'd sold your previous business.
Yes.
And so this was a new start again for you. You've been a serial entrepreneur at these things.
Yes.
From the age of 14.
Yeah, that was my first software business.
That's a great childhood, I have to say. So this one then has the opportunity, and are the major competitors nibbling away at you, saying that we want to be able to do that, or can you do this on your own?
It's more us nibbling the other way around is the aim.
That's a good idea.
So we're sort of encroaching onto the cloud market that's there today.
Right.
We've taken a different approach. We've kind of gone. There's been great technical projects in the past, but they haven't had the go-to-market strategy. So we took go-to-market first. So it's 150,000 devices, but we know that's with our partnerships going to be over 2 million by next year.
Yeah.
So that means that we've got now a massive global cloud network that we can sell to the biggest buyers of cloud computing at the moment.
So Matt, tell me, what were the basic reasons why you started Cudo?
Yeah, well, there's two main reasons. Really, it was applying my knowledge of how to build these platforms. And I wanted to use that knowledge first. It was to do good in the world. Because, I'd sold my business and I was like, okay, what can I do next?
And when you say do good, I mean a charitable thing or something?
Yes, yeah. So, you can give some money to charity, but that's a small impact. It's like, actually, if I can use my knowledge to build something that's going to impact millions of people, then that's what I wanted to focus on.
So there's a clear ethical stance to your business here, because it's important these days that ESG is the fashionable terminology used it. Cudo's smack in the middle of that. That's so that you have an ethic in running its business?
Yeah, definitely. So, it started as Cudo Donate. So the idea was that anyone can donate their resources of their machines when they're not using it to charity.
Right.
And it can be done in one of two ways. Either the money that it generates can be donated directly to a charity you want to support. And it's really hard for charities to even get that £3 a month off somebody.
Yeah.
And quite often 80-90% of their costs are just marketing, trying to get those users, so it all goes to waste. So we wanted 100% of that to go through to the charities. And then the other part is that actually if you're donating those resources, it can be used for cancer research, genome sequencing for COVID, things like this that are actually going to do much better in the world.
So it's a cracking good way for charities to get money, but also for people using this extra asset they've got to donate to charities without actually them costing them anything.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And also, what we're going to be doing, we've put some of this together already, is to make it carbon neutral. So for every X amount of energy that's used, we plant a tree.
Right.
So we're able to do good, but also we're not destroying the planet at the same time. And the advantage of using this machine is that there's as much CO2 produced building a server as there is in its entire lifetime of actually running it.
Right.
So we stop that, and then a lot of our service providers we work with are in hydro and their green countries and locations.
Right. So for the first time, we're actually seeing the computer industry really turning itself into a green industry rather than actually using power. It's actually handing it back. And with that charitable donation side as well, that is actually quite a remarkable ethic to have. Well done.
Thanks.
So you're now looking to raise some money for further investment. What are you going to do with that investment? What's the next stage as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, so we have recently actually been using the Future Fund, which is the government Future Fund, but we've been waiting for that to go through. So we're now, with regionally, raising kind of a bridge round, and that's operational costs for the business.
Yep.
So we're on track to be in profit next quarter, because we're kind of 3 years in, and we've gone from, in June, it's kind of £6,000 revenue, because we just released the software.
Yep.
Up to 100 and something this month.
Right.
So it's scaling now, which is good.
And profitability is in sight.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And so for investors then, looking at it, it looks a very exciting business. As an investor, what would I expect to see? A rising value of the business, or are you looking to pay dividends in due course? What's your plan?
Yeah, there's those two areas actually. So,
all right, that's good.
So if you look at our space, typically, the average is in SaaS providers, which is the category we fall into, is about 10 times annual recurring
SaaS
revenue.
provider, what's that?
Software as a service.
Right, thank you.
So, anything that uses a cloud service online, like a Salesforce or Google Mail or, those types of platforms.
Right.
And we fall into that because you can just sign up, use it online. The reason they get higher valuations is because you have no limit to scale. Essentially, you can scale. Anyone in the world can sign up and use the platform.
So this investment there was to actually just build the scale for you.
Yes. Yeah. So it's primarily valuation on scale, which is typically 10 times annual recurring revenues, the standard multiples. And then also we will, out of the profits going forward, be doing dividends for employees as well. But the priority now is to reinvest those profits to scale the business and get enough capacity so that we can continue to scale.
So Matt, tell me about then your existing shareholders. Who's already invested in the business?
Yeah, so there are a mixture of angels and funds, primarily angel funds actually, but people interested in tech. Quite a few of them advise us as well.
Any companies involved as well?
No, at the moment it's been syndicates, funds and angels.
Right.
Yeah, but we do have, we've got some large technology companies that said that they want to invest in the near future, who are in the hardware space, where, naturally our software runs on hardware. So one of them is one of the second largest in the world, have said that they, very interested in that perspective, because naturally we're making better utilisation of their hardware. So
sure, that makes sense. Yeah. And obviously your team got investments as well in the business.
Yes.
That awful phrase of skin in the game, which I can't stand, but nonetheless.
Yeah. So everyone has options in the business. Okay. So, definitely.
So Matt, tell me a bit about you and the team. So how many are you and how's that growing?
Yes, there's 26 in the team at the moment. About half of the business is technical engineering. And then you've got typical operations, sales, finance. We have a board and a management team. Experience on the board is people that have built their own companies before, sold them, including myself. Yeah, exactly. Which was critical because, if we're going through that process again, then I need to make sure that people have already done this. Yeah. So our ops director previously ran a large fintech company. Right. My chief revenue officer has built and sold his own SaaS business and has also consulted and advised on other companies to go through that growth stage. So he's ideal from that perspective. And then my CTO, chief technical officer, he was my technical director in my last company. So
this sounds like a pretty good team to me. I'm impressed. Impressed. So 5 years hence, what does Cudo look like?
So that's when we're scaling quickly, and I would say we have fast scale and growth into providing cloud services and replacing a lot of cloud that's there. And then we continue to grow that space. Right. So, we get into more networks, more capacity around the world, and more cloud moves from the data center onto our network. And
presumably at some stage, some of those large ones you're nibbling at will turn around wanting to see what you're up to. And they'll be nibbling at you as well.
Yes, yeah. So, there's a few advantages of our network. One is cost. Yep. Because it's running on hardware that already exists, it doesn't have the high costs that data center providers and cloud providers have. So it's substantially cheaper. Also geography-wise, all the big cloud providers are limited to a number of countries, whereas we're running in virtually every country. Yeah. So we have much bigger global reach. And we can scale quicker as well because we don't have to build our own infrastructure.
I think the concept of Airbnb for your computer is quite remarkable.
Yeah.
Matt Hawkins, well done. Thank you very much indeed. And I think this sounds like a really exciting story.
Thanks.
I hope you find that fascinating. I think these stories about new businesses coming on are really exciting. And some of the great things we're seeing in Britain now with technology businesses are going to be the businesses of the future that our economy is going to be based on. I hope you found that worthwhile. If you need to know more, do come and look at the website and do go to Cudo's website as well. Thanks a lot.